When you went in?
Yes, sir.
To have a seat.
To have a seat.
Well, they knew what to do without you having to tell them. But if you told them, I mean, that might have been somebody that hadn't been down before.
Well, that's what. If you assume it was somebody that hadn't been down before, what would you tell them to do?
Have a seat.
Have a seat on the bed. What would happen next?
Well, the next thing you would call, if it was just one, into the room where he spanked.
You spanked them sitting down on the bed?
What?
Did you spank them while they were sitting down on the bed?
No, I mentioned this earlier, I believe. They laid on their stomach on that bed to get the spanking.
Okay. So they would come in and they would have to lay down on their stomach on the bed, correct?
The one that was getting the spanking
Yes,
would
sir.
lay down on their stomach on the bed.
And would you tell them to grab the rails on the
If
bed?
they wanted to, you can.
Would you tell them to bite the pillow that was there on the bed?
To bite it?
Bite it. Put it in their mouth. Clench down.
I never did tell one to do that.
Ever see any of them do it?
I don't recall anybody said. They'd be down and, put the face in the pillow.
And when you would spank these boys, how many times would you hit them with that leather strap?
I used my own judgment, and Mr. Marianna, who was my first director, he usually used 6 or 8 maybe when he'd spank a boy, and that was what I do. If I gave him maybe 6, it would be a minor offense. Sometimes 8, and there's a possibility that maybe 10 if it was serious enough.
Never gave more than 10?
Yeah, not to my knowledge. I didn't want to. If you are at home and you take your belt off and you hit the couch or mattress with your belt 6, 8, or 10 times, you know whether or not, if you use good judgment, whether that's enough for spanking or not.
When you spanked these boys, did you ever hit them 30 or 40 or
No,
more times?
Never.
Never happened.
I never did.
Did you ever tell any of the boys that if they resisted or turned their head or cried out, you were going to start the beating all over again?
No.
And you never did that?
No.
You're sure of that?
I know that.
That's an answered argumentative.
Did you ever have any of the boys that when you were through spanking them were bloody from the spanking
No.
that they'd received?
I never did even check the boys that I spanked. Before I became supervisor. Well,
You never checked
I had a
anybody?
chance to see some of the boys that were spanked, and it'd be sometimes a blue spot on their buttocks and pink, some.
Never saw any that were black from the middle of their back down to the back of their knees. Never saw any boys that had been through a spanking that were black and blue, bruised from the middle of their back down to the back of
There was blue spots on their buttocks.
Yes, sir. You never saw any that were bruised from the middle of their back to the back of their knees?
No.
You never saw any that had any blood or bleeding at all from their
No.
spankings? Did any of the people that were spanked go to the hospital there or to the medical facility for treatment after they were spanked?
Never while I was, spanking.
Never.
Never.
Did you know Dr. Wexler?
I knew Dr. Wexler.
Did you know his daughter?
I knew all of her. I mean, I'd see her from time to time. There's 2 of them, I think.
Did they treat any of the people that had been subject to your spankings? Were the spankings that you gave to the boys any different than the discipline that you gave to your own children at home?
No.
Same type of discipline?
Pardon?
The same type of discipline at home that you dished out there?
Well, my son knows that I spanked him one time in my belt, and I think it's probably 6 or maybe could have been more than 6, but I didn't like you killing a snake, like if you're in the principal's office and he's spanking you with a ping pong paddle or something that they have in there to do that with.
When you spanked these boys with this leather strap, did you use all of your power?
No.
To spank? No. Were the boys usually crying as you were beating them?
He was what?
Were they crying?
No.
Did they cry out in pain?
Sometimes when the first time you put the strap on them or something like that, you know.
Did you ever have to have the children held down while you were spanking?
Yes. Well, I was involved with the director, you know, having some boys from the kitchen to hold the boy down that kind of resisted, you know, the spanking. And
they would go get boys from the kitchen and have them come help hold them down?
well, that's the times that I know of.
Did Mr. Hatton or any of the other people working with you in disciplining these children ever sit on them or hold them down while they were being spanked?
I gotta get you to repeat that.
Yes, sir. Did Mr. Hatton or any of the other directors help hold the children down while they were being spanked?
Not to my knowledge.
It was always somebody from the kitchen or one of the boys?
Yes, sir.
And how would you recruit them? Just send somebody over if somebody was resisting and have them come back? You understand my question?
Yeah, you always had to get the kitchen director to let us have 2 or 3 of the boys, you know, to hold the boy down to get his spanking.
2 or 3 boys to help hold a boy down for 8 or 10 licks?
Big boy, of course, to hold them down like that.
Over the course of time that you were at the school, how many boys do you think that you spanked?
Me?
Yes, sir.
I have no idea.
Might it have been several hundred?
I wouldn't say that.
Over 100?
No.
How many?
I don't know. In that length of time that I became supervisor, I can't say how many. I just never have even given that a thought, you know, to how many I spanked. But,
You remember any of them?
well, one boy in particular, I don't. He was bad about wanting to smoke on the crew, and I couldn't understand. Like I told him, you know, I said, you know, you're running the risk of coming down and getting a spanking after you're caught doing it before, and then you repeating the same thing. And he didn't have no answer for that. But
Other than running, what type of actions would cause a boy to get spanked? You mentioned smoking. If you smoked, could that get you a spanking?
there's some boys that were spanked for smoking, yes.
What other types of conduct would get a spanking?
Well, attitude problem and just not cooperating with the rules.
Cussing? Would using foul language get you spanked?
Well, there's a possibility, but I don't recall me spanking one for using profanity.
You ever spank anybody for not snitching on somebody else that was talking about leaving?
About
Leaving, about running.
If a boy failed to mention, you know, another boy planning on running, I mean, usually the supervisor or maybe the director would talk to the boy. I know one, I shouldn't take up the time like this, but one boy in particular was a nice guy, and he was planning on running one night, and his house leader called me, and I went down, talked with him. He didn't run. He made his rank. He was like a teacher's aide in the classroom. A smart kid, but he came up in rank, went home, and went through school, ran for insurance commissioner, did that actually good there, getting votes. And his last time coming by to see me, he was driving a Cadillac, shining, nice suit of clothes. He dressed real nice. Came in and visited with me a while, and when he started to leave, he pointed his finger. He said, I want to tell you something, Mr. Tidwell. You're responsible for me being where I am today. If I had ran away like I'd planned, I don't know what would have happened. But
I think my question was,